Imagine waking up one day to find out that what you believed your whole life was a lie. This is exactly what happened to a man named Martin Luther in the 16th century. But this wasn't just any ordinary lie, it was a lie that had been told by the most powerful institution in the world at that time, the Catholic Church. Luther's journey from a humble monk to a revolutionary figure is a story of courage, faith, and the power of standing up for what you believe in, even when the whole world seems against you. In the autumn of 1518, Martin Luther, a German monk and professor, was summoned to the city of Augsburg. The summons came from Pope Leo X, the head of the Catholic Church, but it wasn't for a friendly chat. Luther had been causing a stir with his criticisms of the Church, particularly its practice of selling indulgences, essentially tickets to heaven that could be bought with money. The Pope was not happy, and he wanted to silence Luther once and for all. Instead of being called to Rome, where he might have been in real danger, Luther was ordered to meet with a papal emissary named Cardinal Cajetan in Augsburg. Luther arrived in the city on October 7, 1518, with an imperial safe conduct that guaranteed his safety. But despite this protection, his life was still in jeopardy. Cardinal Cajetan was a man of honor and a renowned scholar, but he was also a strict enforcer of church discipline. He saw Luther not as a fellow scholar, but as a member of the lower clergy who had overstepped his bounds. When Luther and Cajetan met, the conversation was tense. Luther came prepared to discuss his ideas for reforming the church, but Cajetan had other plans. He demanded that Luther publicly retract his statements and swear never to question papal policy again. Luther refused, and the meeting ended in a fiasco. Cajetan, furious, dismissed Luther and ordered him never to return unless he was on his knees, begging for forgiveness. After the meeting, rumors began to circulate that Luther would be arrested and taken to Italy in chains. The situation was so dire that Luther had to be smuggled out of the city in a farmer's cart to avoid capture. He was safe for the moment, but his future was uncertain. The Catholic Church had the power to declare him a heretic, and if that happened, every European monarch was legally bound to hand him over. Back in Wittenberg, Luther wrote a detailed account of his meeting with Cajetan and shared it with his supporters. In one letter he wrote, "I send you my trifling work that you may see whether or not I am right in supposing that, according to Paul, the real Antichrist holds sway over the Roman court." Luther's words were becoming more and more critical of the Church, and his followers were growing more vocal in their support. The Pope, hoping to resolve the situation, invited Luther to Rome again, this time offering to pay for his travel expenses. But Luther, knowing the risks, decided to stay in Wittenberg. The Church's patience was running thin, and the stakes were getting higher. If Luther was declared a heretic, he could face the death penalty. In June 1519, Luther found himself in the middle of a heated debate in Leipzig. This time he was represented by his colleague Andreas Bodenstein, known as Professor Karlstadt. Karlstadt had already faced the wrath of the Church for his support of Luther's ideas, and now he was defending them in a public debate. The opponent was Johann Eck, a prominent Catholic theologian who was determined to silence Luther and his followers. The debate in Leipzig was a turning point. Luther, who had been hesitant to engage in public disputes, was drawn into the controversy. His ideas were being discussed, and the stakes were higher than ever. If he lost, the consequences could be dire, but Luther was not afraid. He believed that the truth of his teachings was worth fighting for, even if it meant risking everything. Luther's journey from a simple monk to a revolutionary figure is a testament to the power of conviction and the importance of standing up for what you believe in. In a world where authority was absolute and questioning the status quo was dangerous, Luther dared to speak the truth. His actions sparked a movement that would change the course of history, leading to the Reformation and challenging the power of the Catholic Church. The story of Martin Luther is a reminder that sometimes the most significant changes come from the most unexpected places. A humble monk, armed with nothing but his faith and his words, was able to challenge the most powerful institution in the world and inspire a movement that would shape the future. In a time when the world seemed set in its ways, Luther showed that even one person can make a difference.